the newly crowned top scholar, in his desperation, scrambled into my carriage. That very day, rumors spread like wildfire that the Song family's daughter and the top scholar had long shared a bond. The Empress, who had always favored me, could not bear to see my reputation tarnished. She issued an imperial decree granting us marriage, bestowing upon me the title of princess consort to wed him. After our marriage, his official career flourished. I fulfilled my duties as a wife and mother. Though we were not deeply in love, we lived together with mutual respect, until the emperor was assassinated, and he stepped forward to block the blade. On the brink of death, he begged the emperor to grant him a divorce, so he could return home and be buried alongside his childhood sweetheart. If I had known I couldn't even decide my own marriage, I would have never taken the imperial exams. Because of those words, my 2 children and I became the laughingstock of the court. When I opened my eyes again, everything had returned to the beginning. This time, I will not give him another chance to humiliate me. When Suzanne scrambled frantically into my carriage, my eyes widened as the events of my past life replayed like a kaleidoscope in my mind. I looked down at my own slender, delicate hands, skin as smooth as jade, the very image of a maiden before marriage, and my heart pounded violently. In my previous life, I died of natural causes, yet my days were nothing short of agony. Suzanne's words branded me as a villain who forced her way into marriage with the top scholar. My children became the subject of gossip, unable to hold their heads high. Long past marriageable age, they were shunned by all. Miss? Seeing my silence, Suzanne waved his hand before my eyes. His voice snapped me out of my reverie, clearing my gaze. Facing the man who ruined my life, I instinctively drew back. Suzanne frowned, a flicker of displeasure flashing in his eyes before vanishing. I am Suzanne, this year's top scholar. My intrusion upon you was truly unavoidable. I was pursued relentlessly by those seeking to claim a husband from the examination hall. Would the young lady be so kind as to grant me shelter here for a short while? Rest assured, I shall not harm your reputation in the slightest. My expression remained unchanged, but inside I sneered. Suzanne, still as smooth-talking and insincere as in my past life. Truthfully, my honor was never part of his calculations. On the day the examination results were posted, the crowd outside the prefectural office swelled. Beyond the carriage, voices clamored in a bustling din. I spoke calmly. Oh, how many lovers have been united by the practice of selecting a husband from the examination list? Why does the young gentleman seem so reluctant? The young lady may not know, but I have always believed marriage is no trivial matter. It must be built on mutual affection over time. How could one be so hasty, allowing oneself to be snatched away by a matchmaker? Suzanne fixed me with a piercing gaze. Though the carriage was cramped, he unfurled his folding fan with impeccable grace. In my previous life, it was precisely Suzanne's resolute words that had swayed me, leading me to marry him after rumors ran rampant. Yet now, his words sounded vague and grating. His refusal to accept an arranged marriage was simply because he already had a betrothed, his childhood sweetheart from the countryside. They had long agreed that the day he achieved success would be the day he returned home to marry her. Even the funds for Suzanne's journey to the imperial examinations included a contribution from that sweetheart. I didn't know why he hadn't refused the arranged marriage, whether he didn't want to or dared not. But he never told me any of this. Their grudges shouldn't have cost me my entire life. Recalling Suzanne's final humiliation before his death in my previous life, I clenched my teeth as rage burned fiercer within me. Hatred made my body tremble slightly. Unable to contain myself any longer, I mustered all my strength and kicked Suzanne out of the carriage with a forceful shove. Who the hell are you? Get out! Suzanne rolled several times before managing to stand. His ink-cloud brocade robe was now covered in dust, leaving him looking utterly disheveled. How dare you? Suzanne's brow furrowed. his eyes turning icy cold. Gazing at me, he uttered a rebuke laced with contempt. My heart skipped a beat. Such imposing presence and authority could only be cultivated through decades of high office and privilege. That single word was enough to snap me back to reality. Suzian had also been reborn. How dare the newly crowned top scholar show such disrespect? Our young mistress is the adopted daughter of the Empress. Princess Xiao. You dared to break into the princess's carriage. Have you grown tired of living? My maid Balian stood with one hand on her hip, the other pointing at Suzian as she barked the accusation. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. He couldn't care less about my reputation. He'd probably love to see me so humiliated I'd throw myself at him in the street. Suzian's expression darkened, about to step forward to defend himself. But I raised my arm lightly, my indifferent tone drifting out. Guards! Beat him! Let the new top scholar learn the palace's rules properly. Otherwise, what if he causes a scandal when he enters the palace? By then, he might not even have his life left. 2 servants, receiving my command, charged forward without a word, raining punches and kicks upon Suzian. The onlookers pointed and whispered. The newly crowned top scholar beaten in the street, a spectacle sure to fuel gossip for days. Ever since discovering my rebirth, my restless heart had finally found some measure of calm in this moment. Beating Suzian served 2 purposes. First, to vent the anger from the humiliation and deceit he inflicted in my previous life. But more importantly, to make everyone present understand that Suzian had barged into my carriage of his own accord. My reputation could not be ruined by him again. Stop! Stop! I am the newly crowned top scholar, personally selected by His Majesty. How dare you dogs of servants lay a hand on me? Suzian may possess some talent, but his physical prowess is practically non-existent. Even against just 2 servants from my household, Suzian couldn't put up the slightest fight. Standing with hands behind my back before the carriage, I listened to Suzian's wails with a face as still as water, utterly unruffled. Only when Suzian was beaten to a pulp did I yawn. Enough. We wouldn't want to damage our top scholar. As I spoke, I walked over to him, smoothed the hair at his temple, and adjusted the hairpin atop his head. Our top scholar, it seems, has only studied the classics and knows little of the law. Forcibly entering the princess's carriage. According to the law, you should have your hands chopped off and your eyes gouged out. This beating is already showing you considerable leniency. Doesn't the top scholar intend to express gratitude? Suzian shook off the hands reaching to help him up. Struggling to his feet, he slowly turned to face me, his eyes cold and fierce, his hoarse voice strained with barely contained fury. Su has been presumptuous. Thank you, princess, for your magnanimity. I shot a cold glance at Suzian, his expression dark and his teeth gritted, and a bitter laugh rose in my throat. Suzian, in my past life, you rode my status to the heights of power, yet never once showed gratitude. This time, I'll grant your wish. I'll let you go find your childhood sweetheart. But I wonder if you, who've tasted the splendor of wealth and high office, can endure the humiliation of being trampled underfoot. But my joy at this new lease on life didn't last long. As rumors about Suzian and me began circulating once more. You know, the largest imperial merchant in the capital, right? Word has it his second daughter and the newly crowned top scholar are deeply in love. Heard it. Heard it. Countless dignitaries and nobles gathered early at the county office gates, all vying to secure the top scholar as their son-in-law. Yet Suzian turned his nose up at them all, darting straight into the carriage of the second daughter of the Jiang family. He stayed inside for quite some time before emerging. Hearing these whispers, I was mid-selection of new gowns at the tailor's when all interest vanished. And I turned straight for home. All the way back, I couldn't resist giving my forehead a sharp double tap. If our meeting in the past life was an accident, then this time, He's downright malicious. I didn't hit him hard enough. If I'd known, I should have chopped off one of Suzian's hands for good measure. I truly regretted it. But logically speaking, after beating Suzian so badly he was barely recognizable, it was already surprising they didn't spread rumors of enmity between us. How could they possibly claim I was secretly meeting with him? Exchanging favors? No. Something was definitely amiss. I ordered my servants to track down a few gossip mongers. After slipping them a bit of silver, they spilled everything, naming the messenger without hesitation. Your Highness, the interrogation is complete. Those rumor mongers all hail from the same place. What was it called? That village? Wangbei Village? A name instantly flashed through my mind. And to my surprise, the servants nodded vigorously upon hearing it. Yes. Yes. That's the village. A chill gripped my heart. Wangbei Village, the hometown of Suzian and his childhood sweetheart. Shin Yan. A cold gleam flashed in my eyes as I let out a wry, amused chuckle. This Shin Yan, though just a country girl, is remarkably cunning. In my past life, it was precisely through such schemes that my reputation was ruined, forcing me into marriage with Suzian. So everything had been Shin Yan's calculation all along. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I could guess with near certainty what she sought. She likely reasoned that Suzian, though a noble son from humble origins, would achieve little in officialdom without a patron by his side. And now, in her eyes, I was the perfect patron. As for her, all she needs to do is hide in the shadows, relying on Suzian's boundless guilt towards her, to enjoy the fruits of his labor, gold, silver, treasures, silk, and brocade, while basking in the blessings of having 2 wives. Neither she nor Suzian realized that, if I refuse to cooperate, there are few in the entire imperial city who can control me. Jiang Xiao. Those who set their sights on me will never meet a good end. Balian. Find a physician in the city. Then go to Wangbei Village under the pretense of dispensing medicine. Seek out a woman named Shin Yan. Examine her pulse thoroughly. Should you uncover any ailment, make sure to broadcast it far and wide. A faint smile curved my lips, my brow arching with a hint of mischief. If memory serves, there was another reason Shin Yan would push her childhood sweetheart into another's arms. She was barren. As I instructed Balian on the plan, a voice as cold and sharp as jade struck my ears. It made my whole body tremble, stinging my nose. Useless. You couldn't even handle a phoenix man while you were out. Soft-hearted fool. What? Not fighting back means you're waiting for your reputation to be ruined so you can marry him, only to be used as a surrogate? Even though I barely understood the woman's words, even though her face was as cold as ice, scolding me like a puppy, I couldn't control my emotions. I threw myself forward and hugged her. My lips trembled, my eyes brimming with tears, ready to spill over at any moment. Big sis. I missed you so much. Jiang Yinshi froze in place, stunned by my sudden outburst. It took her a long moment to recover. Then she pushed me away, flustered. Her usually cold and proud expression flickered with panic for an instant. What's gotten into you, you little brat? We just had breakfast together this morning. I stared at Jiang Yunxi, saying nothing, only grinning foolishly. Jiang Yunxi wasn't actually my biological sister. She was an orphan my parents had adopted. She was aloof yet kind and brave, exceptionally intelligent. She managed the family business with impeccable order. It could be said our Jiang family's rise to imperial merchants was inseparable from her contributions. I always looked up to her as a role model, until Su Zian appeared. Ever since hearing about him, sister has opposed our marriage, trying to stop it. But I felt trapped, determined to marry Su Zian. Sister. Zian promised he'd treat me well. After all, He's the top scholar, it's hardly a mismatch. Besides, with my current reputation, who else would even consider marrying me? I still remember Sister's furious expression. Her eyebrows furrowed like willow leaves, pointing at me with that look of disappointment. Jiang Xiao, you are the Empress's adopted daughter. A princess. A poor scholar like him should consider himself lucky just to see you, let alone marry you. Look at his shifty eyes, he doesn't look like a good man. Besides, reputation is worthless. If you say you won't marry him, I dare anyone to criticize you. I, Jiang Yunxi, will tear their mouths apart. But even that failed to pull me back from the brink of disaster. My elder sister shifted uncomfortably under my intense gaze, clearing her throat to ease the awkwardness. Soft targets. Our Jiang family has plenty of silver. If we're going to do this, let's do it big. We should also spread the word about how the new top scholar, desperate to curry favor, disregarded propriety and crawled into the princess's carriage in public, only to be kicked out onto the ground. In my past life, my sister had spoken to me in exactly the same way, but I refused to ruin Su Xian's future over this. Not only did I disagree, I called my sister a ruthless and extreme person. From that day on, my sister stopped speaking to me. Not once did she visit me until I left this world. I truly broke her heart. Now, I wrap my arms around her waist in playful pout, lifting my face to gaze up at her, my eyes crinkling into crescent moons. Oh, sister dearest. How clever and quick-witted you are, your little sister truly admires you. My actions startled her, and a blush instantly spread across her cheeks. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. My sister, who usually appeared cold and impartial, was actually so endearing. Thinking back to how Su Xian and I had been estranged in my previous life, my resentment grew even harder to quell. Sister said she'd arrange for someone to handle these matters for me, urging me to enter the palace swiftly to visit the Empress. With rumors of my affair with Su Xian swirling wildly now, Her Majesty the Empress, knowing I've suffered wrongs, must surely be worried. If schemers sway her into forcing a marriage between Su Xian and me, I'll have no chance to regret it later. I was so startled I couldn't swallow my tea, it all sprayed out. Balian, prepare the carriage. I rushed toward the door. My elder sister shook her head helplessly, her voice filled with affection as she cautioned me. Slow down, you reckless girl. A buzzing sound echoed in my head, and I stood there dazed for a moment. A complex mix of emotions stirred within me. Indeed, how long had it been since I acted so recklessly? Since I indulged in such unrestrained joy? Ever since marrying Su Xian, without my parents or elder sister to shield me from life's storms. Every household matter, great and small, fell to me. I became the woman behind him, using the Jiang family's power and wealth to propel his meteoric rise. Yet he secretly carried on with Xinyan behind my back, lost in their own little world. In the end, he risked his life to save the emperor. With such a debt of gratitude, he could have secured a reward for me and our child, enough to ensure our peace for the rest of our lives. Yet not only did he fail to do so, he cast us mother and daughter into the realm of villains, subjecting us to public scorn and relentless criticism. Su Xian, you truly deserve to die 1,000 deaths. Lost in these thoughts, I found myself at the palace gates. As I hurried toward the Empress's chambers, I unexpectedly encountered Su Xian along the way. Truly, enemies meet in narrow places. I intended to bypass him, refusing to acknowledge his presence. Yet Su Xian seemed determined to block my path, persistently weaving in front of me. Get out of my way! Are you annoying or what? A cold glint flashed in my eyes as I snapped at him. Su Xian's pupils suddenly contracted as he stared at me in shock. Having lived together for over a decade, even if Su Xian no longer cared about me, he still knew my temper and nature well enough. Judging by his expression, He must have noticed something off about me. Xiao. You've reincarnated too, haven't you? My heart clenched. I remained silent, offering no reply. Su Xian took my silence as confirmation. His eyes flashed with sharpness as he stepped forward excitedly, grabbing my hands forcefully. His voice carried a hint of irritation. Xiao. I just won the top scholar title in the imperial exams. Why did you have to humiliate me in front of everyone? In my past life, I rose to the rank of first-grade official yet never took a single concubine. You were my only wife from beginning to end. What more could you possibly want? Why must you humiliate me like this? Su Xian's words nearly made me burst out laughing on the spot. Had I not wished to conceal my rebirth, I would have dragged Xin Yan before him, to confront him properly. I took a deep breath and raised my hand, delivering a full-force slap across Su Xian's face. You lecherous scoundrel! What nonsense are you spouting? Not only did you barge into my carriage without permission days ago, but now you dare rant here. You're utterly incorrigible. Guards! Escort this man out of the palace. Su Xian watched as the distant guards, hearing my command, strode purposefully toward us. His entire demeanor seemed anxious. Ignoring the reddened cheek from my blow, he muttered to himself. What's going on? Why isn't this right? Shouldn't Jiang Xiao be in love with me by now? At this point, the Empress should have already arranged our marriage. No. Why is none of this right? I know! Su Xian suddenly seemed to grasp something, his furrowed brow relaxing. He lifted his chin high, adopting an air of unparalleled arrogance. He probably still thinks he's that high-ranking official who commanded the winds and rains in his past life. Xiao, you're just shy, aren't you? Well, I suppose a young lady wouldn't feel comfortable speaking of such matters. In my previous life, I misunderstood. This time, if I bring her home early and then formally ask for your hand in marriage, wouldn't that be the best of both worlds? I know you've long harbored feelings for me. Rest assured, if you can accept her, I'll even grant you the position of primary wife. You'll retain your prestige in public. Crossing my arms, I shot Su Xian a cold glance as he indulged in his fantasies. One look was enough to fill me with disgust. I swiftly averted my eyes. He wasn't worth another glance. After reincarnating, Su Xian was racking his brains to devise a scheme to make me and Xin Yan share one husband. Even the position of primary wife would be his charity. It seems in my past life, I truly lived too comfortably, leading Su Xian to believe I was a soft target he could manipulate at will. As the guards dragged Su Xian away, he still called out to me. Xiao, just you wait. In 2 days, I'll seek the Empress Dowager to arrange our marriage. My expression darkened instantly, my eyes blazing with fury. Su Xian, did lightning strike you and fry your brain these past 2 days? Stop fantasizing. I won't marry you. Su Xian froze, then sneered contemptuously. Your reputation is already ruined. If not me, who else would marry you? Who would dare take you as a wife? In my past life, this very situation ruined me. Now Su Xian dared to use it to blackmail me. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. A surge of rage shot straight to my head, threatening to overwhelm my reason. When a lazy, clear voice drifted softly into my ear. If Princess Xiao is willing to marry me, I would be most honored. Turning to see who had spoken, my gaze froze, a flicker of surprise flashing in my eyes. Before I could finish, Xia Han raised a hand to silence me. He stopped me from uttering the title Crown Prince. I nodded to the guard and released Su Xian. He stepped before Xia Han, sizing him up from head to toe, then snorted dismissively after a moment. Look at you. You must be some merchant, right? Xia Han responded with a faint smile and a slight curl of his lips. If you put it that way, you're not wrong. I handle some government salt trade. As if satisfied with this answer, Suzian snorted coldly with utter disdain. A mere merchant dares speak so boldly before this top scholar? Scholars, farmers, artisans, merchants. Your kind isn't even fit to tie my shoes. Yet you dare speak of marrying a princess? I stole a glance at Xiahan. Not bad, he didn't seem to want to drag Suzian out the noon gate for immediate execution just yet. But this Xiahan knew how to strike at the heart. His eyes darted, and he grabbed my hand, just as Suzian was grinding his teeth in fury. Ready to charge forward, Xiahan swiftly pulled the golden imperial token from his robe. Suzian paled, stumbling backward before collapsing to his knees with a thud. Your servant greets his majesty. The golden token was as good as the emperor himself. Suzian prostrated himself on the ground. But Xiahan held the token aloft, refusing to lower it. Instead, he leaned close to my ear. From what I heard, you're dead set against marrying him, right? I frowned, shaking my head like a rattle. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Xiahan's eyes light up instantly, his grip on my hand tightening. Let me tell you, I just talked my mother out of it for you. Otherwise, by now, the imperial decree for the arranged marriage would have reached the Jiang family. So, how do you plan to thank me? Xiahan turned his head to look at me, his eyes holding a lazy smile. My fingers tapped lightly against my lips as if deep in thought. Then how about pledging myself to you? The words had barely left my mouth when Xiahan froze completely. His normally poised figure trembled for a split second. Si Yao. You mean it? I said nothing, only clasped his hand in mine. I knew Xiahan's feelings for me. Back when I accompanied my father to the palace for an audience, the empress found me charming and lovely, taking an instant liking to me. She insisted on bestowing upon me the title of princess. It was Xiahan who, with a cold expression, flatly refused. Everyone assumed he was just a jealous child and called him petty. But his face flushed crimson as he declared, "No, absolutely not. She cannot be a princess. If she is, I won't be able to marry Jiang Xiao." That youth, whose bright eyes held such earnestness and stubbornness, has long been etched deep into my memory. When Suzian's death thrust us, mother and daughters, into the eye of the storm, Xiahan still stood up for me time and again. But Xiahan was the crown prince, the heir apparent, a man who lived for his country and its people. I couldn't bear for him to lose the people's trust because of me. Life is fleeting, better never to have met. Later, I left without a word, taking my 2 daughters with me, severing all ties. What on earth are you two talking about? Suzian's gritted teeth voice snapped both Xiahan and me back to reality. Oh, I almost forgot the top scholar is still kneeling. Attendants, watch over the top scholar here. He must kneel for a full hour before rising. Xiahan's feigned surprise made me chuckle out loud. Then, paying no heed to Suzian, who was nearly choked with rage, "Come. I'll take you to see mother." My elder sister always handled things efficiently. Within days, the affair between Suzian and Shenyan was spreading like wildfire. But I had no time to care. Holed up in the mansion persuading my elder sister not to prepare so much dowry for me. Yao Yao. If you keep this up, your elder sister will get angry. Even if Xiahan is the crown prince, our Jiang family's daughter won't be inferior to him in the slightest. These are your strengths. Once you enter the palace, Xiahan won't dare treat you lightly. This time, my sister didn't oppose my marriage to Xiahan. But when it came to preparations, she left no detail untouched, as if she wanted to stuff the entire Jiang family's fortune into my dowry. Fine. 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 I'll do as you say. I relinquished my stubbornness and clung to her, pouting playfully. Her cheeks flushed again. I must check on the shop. Rest if you're tired. No sooner had she left than a servant rushed in. Flustered. Miss. The top scholar is at the gate. Demanding to see you. I frowned, waving him off impatiently. I won't see him. Send him away. The servant hesitated, looking around awkwardly. The top scholar said. He said. What did he say? He said he's obtained the imperial decree for our marriage and has come to share the good news with you. Miss. A thunderclap seemed to explode in my mind, my eyes widening in terror. That day, Xiahan dragged me to see the Empress. After hearing about us, she was so delighted she nearly ordered our marriage decree on the spot. I stopped her, saying I wanted to wait until the storm passed. How could they possibly grant Suzian a royal marriage decree? Let him in. The moment Suzian entered, he saw the room filled with gold, silver, and jewels. He raised an eyebrow slightly, a trace of disdain curling his lips. I heard the Jiang family was preparing your dowry. It seems true after all. Si Yao. You've even prepared your dowry in advance. Yet you claim you don't want to marry me? Rest assured, I won't hold it against your elder sister for slandering me in her anger, unaware of your feelings for me. Just as I was about to retort, Su Xian sternly reprimanded me. But you shouldn't have made Xinyan's infertility common knowledge. A woman's virtue is paramount. How will she live in the city now? Still, I've interceded for her. After you enter the family, offer her a cup of tea and apologize. Bear me a son or daughter, give her one to raise. Su Xian's ungrateful tirade only deepened the coldness in my eyes. He dared to say a woman's honor outweighs the heavens? Utterly laughable. I could no longer contain the pent-up frustration within me. I shot him a fierce glare, my eyes brimming with loathing and contempt. Su Xian, why on earth would you think I'd ever set my sights on a disgraced top scholar like you? You've already brought Xinyan to your side, haven't you? You're selfish and self-serving, while she's venomous and treacherous. There's probably no one in this world more perfectly matched than the two of you. Hearing my decisive refusal and merciless curses, Su Xian, his face suddenly darkening with humiliation. Si Yao. Xinyan has sacrificed much for me. I won't tolerate anyone slandering her. Don't think your title as a princess grants you free reign. When I rise to power someday, you'll be begging for my favor. Besides, the imperial decree is here. You have no right to refuse. I stared at the decree Su Xian held aloft, my heart giving an involuntary jolt. Could something truly have gone wrong? By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees, Su Xian, peerless in both talent and appearance, is a pillar of the nation. Therefore, it is hereby decreed that he be betrothed to. Su Xian dramatically unfurled the edict, reading it aloud with smug satisfaction. But halfway through, his expression twisted in shock. He spat lightly, slammed the edict shut, and turned to leave. Before I could reach out to stop him, he was already charging toward the door. The edict wasn't even finished. Where was the top scholar rushing off to? Xiahan approached with his hands behind his back. Su Xian didn't even glance at Xiahan, reaching out to shove him aside. But Xiahan didn't budge an inch. Fuming with pent-up anger, Su Xian was about to lash out when Xiahan, smiling serenely, delivered a swift kick to Su Xian, sending him flying straight toward me. Startled, I instinctively leapt backward. Xiahan, next time use a little restraint with your kicks. Don't let that disgusting thing get so close to me. Su Xian slammed his fist down hard. His eyes swept over me before fixing on Xiahan, flashing with a cold, furious glint. You, a lowly salt merchant, dare to lay a hand on the top scholar time and again. I see you've no desire to live. Watch yourself. Xia Han was never one to tolerate such insolence. His past restraint didn't mean Su Zian could keep testing his limits. Imperial dignity was not something to be trifled with. Xia Han's expression turned icy as he seized Su Zian's throat. Then he turned his head toward me. Standing behind him. Yao Yao. Perhaps I should just handle him for you. He's just a top scholar, we can select another. Judging by Xia Han's expression, he seemed genuinely considering it. After all, having people constantly covet his unmarried wife had truly enraged him. But I didn't stop him. Instead, I pondered seriously for a moment. If it could be done without anyone noticing, it might be worth considering. I kill. You bury the body. That should be manageable. Seeing I hadn't softened in the slightest, Xia Han smirked and deliberately drew out his words. But this truly scared Su Zian half to death. He struggled desperately to break free from Xia Han's grip. His face flushed crimson, clothes disheveled and torn, looking utterly wretched. Xia Han looked utterly disgusted and loosened his hold. Meanwhile, I stood behind them, wishing I could vanish into a crack in the ground. Thankfully, aside from Su Zian, no one remembered what happened in the previous life. Otherwise, I truly wouldn't have the face to meet them. Such a cowardly, selfish, and life-fearing person. What on earth did I ever see in him? After breaking free, Su Zian's expression turned sinister. Pointing at me and Xia Han, he gritted his teeth viciously. Fine. You just wait. I'll report you to the Emperor. Report him? The very thought of that scene made me chuckle, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Xia Han turned to look at me, drawn by my laughter, while Su Zian tried to slip away unnoticed. But who was Xia Han? With a swift motion, he drew the sword at his side and pressed it against Su Zian's throat. Did I say you could leave? The imperial edict isn't finished yet. Fury filled Su Zian's face. Yet he dared not resist further. He could only clench and unclench his fists repeatedly, hesitating to read the edict. Read it now. Xia Han's sword jerked violently, making Su Zian's body tremble. It is hereby decreed that he shall wed Xin Yan. By imperial command. I blinked several times before comprehending what had just transpired. Xin Yan's search for renowned physicians to treat her infertility, fueled by my elder sister's efforts, had become common knowledge throughout the city. Yet Xin Yan remained an obscure name, though the imperial decree would soon be proclaimed throughout the land. Bestowing a barren woman upon the newly crowned top scholar as his wife signaled unequivocally that Su Zian's political career had reached its end. Xia Han observed Su Zian frozen in place, feigning puzzlement as he raised his voice. Yao Yao. You still insist it must be Xin Yan? How magnanimous of you. Though she and the top scholar were childhood sweethearts, bound by mutual affection, she had hired people to specially invite high-ranking officials to the examination hall to select a husband for the top scholar's future. Such devotion was truly enviable. I couldn't help but chuckle softly, never having realized before how masterfully Xia Han could mock others. Su Zian's face instantly drained of color. With 2 lifetimes worth of memories, he had long since seen through everything. No. It couldn't be. Xin Yan wasn't that kind of person. Xia Han snorted coldly. Couldn't be? She hasn't even settled the debt for hiring those people yet. The creditors are already crowding the top scholar's mansion gates. Why don't you go take a look? Su Zian's expression darkened considerably. His gaze flickered between me and the shadows beneath his lowered eyelids. After a long internal struggle, he finally cursed under his breath and left. I thought my connection with Su Zian in this life would end there. Yet 3 months later, when the Emperor hosted a hunting expedition, Su Zian's name appeared among the invited guests. Xia Han offered to petition the Emperor to remove him from the list. But I shook my head and stopped him. Because in my previous life, It was Su Xian who shielded the emperor from a blade during that very hunt. What was meant to happen would happen. Su Xian arrived alone, without Qin Yan. I'd heard they'd married over 2 months prior. Yet within a month of their wedding, Su Xian had taken a concubine. When I heard the news, I merely smiled faintly. So much for childhood sweethearts. Si Yao. Si Yao. I'd arrived a bit early, intending to wait quietly for Xia Han to find me, until Su Xian's voice echoed behind me, sending a chill down my spine that nearly stopped my breath. Truly a persistent ghost. I quickened my pace, unwilling to engage, but Su Xian seemed determined, bellowing, "Jiang Xiao," as all eyes turned to us. I wanted to tear him limb from limb. Su Xian scanned my surroundings, noting Xia Han's absence. He exhaled deeply, his gaze shifting slightly. "That salt merchant abandoned you, didn't he? I told you no one but me would ever marry you. I know my current status. But rest assured, after today, I, Su Xian, will be granted a marquis title and appointed a general. Don't even mention the emperor bestowing you upon me. Even if I were to become his son-in-law, His Majesty would consent. Perhaps in this lifetime, you truly hold no interest in me. But I won't let you go. Jiang Xiao, you won't escape my grasp." My gaze drifted restlessly. Seeing Xia Han still hadn't arrived, I could only keep licking my lips, easing the anxiety and unease in my heart. The instant I reached out to stop Su Xian, the Emperor and Empress arrived. I watched Su Xian step by step toward the Emperor. Yet I could do nothing. More and more moments overlapped with my past life, my heart pounding wildly. "Come, my loyal ministers. Let me witness your prowess. Now." In my previous life, it was precisely at this moment that an assassin disguised as a eunuch slipped in, drew a dagger, and lunged toward the Emperor. From the same spot, a eunuch's figure shifted. Without hesitation, Su Xian lunged forward, simultaneously drawing the dagger he'd concealed in his robe, intending to kill the eunuch in self-defense. "Your Majesty, beware! Father, beware! Let me go! Let me go! An assassin! I'm here to save your Majesty." Su Xian's plan had failed. Now he lay pinned to the ground by Xia Han, who had rushed over. In his shock and fury, he'd even bitten a mouthful of dirt. He shouted loudly, struggling, but it was all in vain. "You insolent assassin! Spewing such slander! These are the Emperor's most trusted servants. Which one does His Majesty not recognize?" Su Xian forced his eyelids open, gazing at the eunuch who should have been the assassin. It was clearly him. No, that couldn't be right. Why was it not him? It was you. It must have been you. You and that lowly salt merchant. You must have feared I'd steal your thunder. Bribed an assassin to frame me. Your Majesty. It's him. He's the accomplice to that assassin. Arrest him and torture him, the truth will come out." Su Xian pointed at Xia Han, his face contorted. Everyone present froze upon hearing his words. For a long while, no one dared speak. Pfft! I couldn't hold back any longer and burst out laughing. His Majesty's imperial countenance darkened with fury. "Nonsense! You've truly read yourself into stupidity." The Empress, supporting the slightly startled Emperor, addressed Xia Han. "Your Highness, quickly take this madman away." Su Xian's expression froze instantly. "Crown Prince? Who is the Crown Prince?" Xia Han snorted coldly and kicked him toward the guards. He bowed his hands and said, "Yes, Your Majesty. Your servant obeys." Su Xian suddenly raised his head, his face deathly pale, his lips trembling, clearly unable to accept the reality before him. "Crown Prince? You are the Crown Prince. The onlookers, witnessing the scene, couldn't help but murmur among themselves. Has this assassin lost his mind? He doesn't even recognize the crown prince. And that's not all. I just saw him pestering the crown princess. He was even saying he wanted to take her as a concubine. It's laughable. Even someone as slow-witted as Su Xian now fully understood why he had ended up in such a predicament. Jiang Xiao, you set me up. You remember everything. A faint smile touched my lips as my gaze drifted indifferently past Su Xian's pointing finger. In an instant, Xia Han understood my meaning, snapping Su Xian's finger clean off. I stepped before the wailing Su Xian, frowned, and rubbed my ear. Xia Han grabbed Su Xian's collar, stuffing his mouth shut. Su Xian, you thought this would be your chance to climb the ranks. But do you know? I've been waiting for this day for a very long time. The assassin Xia Han has already been dealt with. As for you, daring to approach the emperor with a weapon? I'm afraid your head won't survive. Rest assured. This lifetime I'll grant your wish. I'll bury you and your childhood sweetheart together. Xia Han took my trembling hand, soothing my turbulent emotions. Don't worry. This lifetime, I'll stay by your side. The end.